Did you know? Guitar Hero was directly inspired by a Japanese arcade game called Guitar Freaks. It was part of the BUCKETHEAD series by Konami, which began with 1997's Beat Mania. Guitar Freaks had similar gameplay to Beat Mania, but utilized a guitar-shaped controller and a more rock and roll-based soundtrack. Harmonix, the developers of Guitar Hero, were not actually the ones inspired by Guitar Freaks. The ones inspired were hardware manufacturers RedOctane, who previously made dance pads for Dance Dance Revolution. The company was aware of Guitar Freaks and knew they'd be able to make a comparable guitar controller. RedOctane wasn't a game developer, however, so they proposed a collaboration with music games developer Harmonix. Guitar Hero was the result of their partnership. The gameplay and presentation of Guitar Hero was an evolution of two previous Harmonix games, Frequency and Karaoke Revolution. Neither Frequency nor its sequel, Amplitude, sold well despite being critically acclaimed and backed by Sony. This was partially because the games were too difficult to explain to new players. Sony conducted a focus group test on Amplitude where they described the game with pictures and bullet points, then asked the group what they thought. The pre-play quote-unquote interest score was the lowest of any game Sony had ever tested. But after letting the testers actually play the game, the post-play intent to purchase score was higher than any game Sony had ever tested. Sony told Harmonix, "We can't market this game. No one wants to buy it unless they've played it." Karaoke Revolution, on the other hand, was a commercial success, in part because it was very easy to understand. In an interview from the book, Inside Game Design, Guitar Hero lead designer Rob Kay stated, "One of the things we learned from Frequency and Amplitude was that people don't necessarily relate to really abstract visuals. They don't always understand how they apply to them. Unlike Frequency, which had an abstract psychedelic background, Karaoke Revolution had animated singers and dancers in the background. This concept was carried over to Guitar Hero, even though the core gameplay was more similar to Frequency and Amplitude." Interestingly enough, before striking a publishing deal with Sony, Harmonix approached Microsoft with the concept of Frequency. Then Vice President of Microsoft, Ed Fries, told Harmonix co-founder Alex Rogopoulos that no one would buy a rhythm game without a special piece of hardware attached to it, which is exactly what ended up happening with Guitar Hero. Later, Ed Fries expressed regret in not signing a deal with Harmonix because of how successful the studio became. Microsoft isn't the only company that regrets not staying in business with Harmonix. Accessories manufacturer Mad Catz had a contract to make an Xbox guitar controller for the first Guitar Hero. Around that time, Harmonix and RedOctane were sued by Konami for patent infringement of Guitar Freaks. Mad Catz were worried about the lawsuit, so they actually paid $300,000 to back out of the contract. But the lawsuit didn't end up damaging Guitar Hero. Mad Catz CEO DARREN Richardson told Kotaku, "Everyone else made hundreds of millions and we paid money not to be a part of it. It was brilliant. I come up with these strokes of genius from time to time. That was my best." This is also the reason why the first Guitar Hero was never released on a Microsoft console. The Guitar Hero version of Jordan by Buckethead was the first studio recording of the song ever. Buckethead had only played the song at live events prior to Guitar Hero. In fact, the track didn't even have a name before it was recorded. After sending the song to Harmonix, Buckethead thought it was the best thing he'd ever recorded in his entire life. It was named Jordan as an homage to sports icon Michael Jordan, as Buckethead is a huge fan of basketball. Most tracks in Guitar Hero 1 and 2 are cover songs created by in-house musicians, but many fans prefer the original studio recordings. In an interview with Guitar World, Harmonix guitarist Mark Henderson responded to the critics by pointing out that the use of covers was a stylistic choice, as the single-player storyline is about a cover band. When it came to recreating the music of famous artists, Harmonix was very picky about the instruments they used. Each song had to be recorded with the same guitar the original bands used. With the cover of Laid to Rest by Lamb of God, Marcus Henderson even used the same amplifier and settings that guitarist Willie Adler used. He was able to find the exact settings by pausing a section of Lamb of God's Philadelphia DVD, where Adler was shown using his setup. Harmonix wasn't just insistent on using the same instruments, even smaller details of songs were recreated. With the cover of Iron Man by Black Sabbath, Harmonix found out that Ozzy Osbourne used a metal fan to create the robotic effect in the intro. Harmonix went and found the same fan model on Craigslist to recreate the vocal effect. The story of a band rising to fame by playing cover songs has been noted as a flimsy narrative. This criticism actually spawned the basis for an interesting unused storyline in Guitar Hero 3. Harmonix employees Stephen Kimura and Joe Kowalski pitched the idea to set the third game in a post-apocalyptic world where rock and roll was banned. In this dystopian future where making music is illegal, the only songs that remain are the ones passed down orally. The player would be part of a group of outcast rebels fighting a tyrannical government with the power of rock and roll. This version never made it past the planning stages because Harmonix was pulled off the project after after they were purchased by Viacom. Development of Guitar Hero 3 was handed off to Neversoft, and Harmonix went on to create the Rock Band series. Guitar Hero 3 was the best-selling game in the series and actually broke the record for fastest game in history to reach $1 billion in sales. As well as being profitable for the games industry, Guitar Hero also positively impacted the music industry. Digital sales of Dragon Force's Through the Fire and Flames went from 2,000 a week to over 35,000 after Guitar Hero 3. And the band Aerosmith made more money on Guitar Hero Aerosmith than any single album the group ever released. The retailer Guitar Center cited the success of Guitar Hero as one reason for a 27% increase in sales from 2007 to 2008, meaning games actually inspired gamers to become musicians. But this massive boom in popularity was followed by a crushing bust. The rapid success of music games spawned a series of spin-offs and copycats that saturated the market. Alex Rogopoulos stated, "Even without intense competition, you're manufacturing a very expensive product with very thin margins, so getting the volume right is key. Ship too light, and you produce an inadequate inventory for the demand, and you have a lot of unhappy customers. You ship too many, and you lose a lot of money. And you need to make decisions like that 6 months in advance when you commit to manufacturing volumes." In addition to the challenges of inventory management, Harmonix ran into problems when competing companies would bid for the same music. This drove up the cost of music licenses, making it even more difficult to turn a profit. Retail space also became hotly contested and more expensive as the boxes for plastic instruments were relatively large. By 2009, both Rock Band and Guitar Hero suffered a 55% and 30% loss in sales respectively compared to the previous year. By 2010, Harmonix was sold off and Activision canceled the Guitar Hero game mid-development. 5 years later, Activision announced a reboot of the franchise starting with Guitar Hero Live. The reboot lacks drums and microphone support and features a brand new guitar controller with 6 buttons. Harmonix will also relaunch Rock Band in the same year with support for the previously purchased controllers and DLC. Harmonix is also gearing up for a reboot of the Guitar Hero predecessor, Amplitude, after a successful Kickstarter campaign. Before you go, we'd like you to vote on what you'd like to see covered in the future, a video on LEGO games or a video on Minecraft. You can also vote by leaving a comment below. And don't forget to subscribe for more facts and trivia. That's all for today, but don't forget to hit equip on our Normal Boots channel page to get an email update on new videos. Make sure you also check out didyouknowgaming.com. And if you like this video, check out some more videos. By the way, I'm Danny Sexbang from the comedy band Ninja Sex Party. You can check out my channel at youtube.com/ninjasexparty. If you'd like to check out my band, here's a video called Road Trip.